In this video, we're going to go over how to determine the slope of the y-intercept from a linear equation, and then we're also going to write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form, doing a few examples. So let's first go through a summary of the equations of lines. We have general form, which is where we have our ax plus by plus c equals 0. We have a vertical line. Notice here that it's not a y equals, but an x equals a value, and that gives us a vertical line. If we have a horizontal line, we'll have a y equals and then a number. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. And then we have our point slope form, where we have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to determine the slope and the y-intercept of each of these linear equations here. So if we take a look at example A, it says x plus y equals 2. So we want to get the y by itself because there is a y. So to do that, we'll subtract x from both sides by doing its inverse operation. And so we get y equals a negative x plus 2. And now we have it in slope-intercept form. So our slope, or our m, is going to be the value in front of the x. So if we look at the value in front of the x, we have a negative, but that represents a -1. And our b value is in the back. And here we have a +2. So we'll write down a 2. So now we have determined the slope and the y-intercept for each equation, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. So let's take a look at our second example. Here we have y equals 2. Now if we match that, that matches up here with our horizontal line. So notice that there is no m value, it's just the b. So here, for our m, we will have 0, because it is a horizontal line. And for our b value, we will have the number 2. Let's take a look at letter C. So here, for letter C, we have this in point slope form to begin. So what we're going to want to do, well, we can get the m really easy because it's right there in the front, right? Here's our m, because it says m times. So we'll write our m down first, and we'll put it down here because we're going to need some room. So m equals 2/3. But now we still need to get our b value. So to do that, we're going to distribute our 2/3, and that's going to give us y, oops, let's try that again. Let's go underneath it. Y minus 7 equals 2/3 x minus 2/6. But we can reduce 2/6 to 1/3. So we'll go ahead and do that, 1/3. Then we're going to add 7 to both sides to move the 7 over. And that's going to leave us with a y equals a 2/3 x. And this is where you might want to get your calculator out and plug -1/3 plus 7 to see what you get. So if we take our -1/3 and we add 7 to that, it says that we're going to have a value of 20/3. So we'll be able to write plus 20/3. And that is going to be our b value, 20/3. Now if we were graphing it, writing 20/3 might make it kind of difficult. So if you were graphing it, you would represent that as a mixed number then, but only when you go to graph it. When you're stating it, you're still going to leave it as an improper fraction, but you would think of it as a 6 2/3, okay, if you're graphing it. So let's do an example where we're going to write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So here we have Write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form using the given information. It passes through the point 3, -7, and has a slope of 2. So here is our slope, and then it gives it an x and a y value. So because it gives us an x and a y value, we want to use the point-slope equation. So again, because it gave us a point and it gave us the slope, we want to use the point-slope equation, which is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And we're going to plug in our values here. So we know that our y goes there, and we know that our x goes there, and we know that our m goes there. So let's plug in the things that we have. Now before we start, we should point out that this is actually your x1 and this is really your y1 because it's actually their actual points. So our equation, maybe it would be better if we write it like this. Let's get rid of that one. Let's write it so it's a little bit less confusing. Y minus y1 equals the m times x minus x1 there. That's going to be a lot less confusing to work with. So let's plug in our values. We have y minus -7 equals 2 times x minus 3. Now we put our things in parentheses so that we can see if that's going to change anything or what that has to do. Now we should notice that over here with the y's we have a double negative, so that's really going to look like a plus, right? That's going to look like a plus. Okay, so what we have now is we have y plus 7 equals 2 times x minus 3. And since we're trying to write our equation in slope-intercept form, that means that we're going to need to distribute that 2. So we have y plus 7 equals 2x minus 6. Then we need to subtract 7 from both sides to get y equals 2x minus 13. And this is slope-intercept form because there's our m right there, and there's our b right there. So that's our sloped-intercept form. Okay, let's try it with a word problem. So in 2012, Apple had sales of 156.508 billion, and in 2013, the sales were 170.910 billion. We're going to write the equation of sales, y, in terms of x. So we want to say y equals. Then we're going to use that equation to predict the sales for 2014. So first we'll write our points. So we have time, which was 2012, and the amount, 156.508. And here we have 2013, and our sales, 170.910. I know these numbers are kind of big. We're going to use a calculator. So notice that this time we have an x1 and an x2. And we have a y1 and we have a y2, and it did not give us the slope. So that means the first thing that you have to do is find the slope. So we're going to take our slope equation. So that's the y2 minus the y1. So 170.910 minus 156.508 divided by the x2 minus the x1. We're going to plug that into a calculator. Now on the bottom right here, we're going to get a 1, which is great. So that means it's going to be a whole number. So because it's going to be a whole number, I'm not going to worry about writing that down. I'm just going to worry about finding my subtraction. So 170.910 minus 156.508. All right, we're going to get 14.402. All right, so that's our slope. So now that we have the slope and we have a point, we can use our point slope formula like what we just did. We just need to pick one point to use. So we're going to go ahead And we're going to use, let's use this point right here. We'll use this first set of points just because it's first. We have an x1 and a y1 there. So let's plug in our values to the equation for points. Okay, so here we have y minus our y1 equals m times x minus our x1. So we know that in order to get this finished and solved, that we need to distribute the 14.402. So that's going to give us y minus 156.508 equals 14.402x minus 28,976.82. And I just rounded that to 2 decimal spots. Now to finish solving, I know these numbers are big. Gotta make sure you're using your calculator to help you out with them. So then we're going to add in the 156.508, and that's going to leave us with y equals 14.402x minus, that leaves us with y equals 14.402x minus 28,820.31 billion. Because remember, we're talking about billion. So the last thing it wants us to do is to predict the sales for 2014. Now remember, 2014 is an x value. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this equation right here and we're going to plug 2014 into this x spot. And we're definitely going to use our calculator to help us out here. So 14.402 times, we're going to put in our 2014, minus 28,820.31. And we're going to plug that into our calculator. So if we pull up our calculator here and we plug in 14.402 times 2014, then we subtract that 28,820.31 billion, we're going to get an answer of 185.318. So 185, so that gives us that y equals 185.318 billion in sales. And that's dollars, right? That's billions in sales. So we have two answers here. Our first answer is over here by our orange star. That's our equation. And our second answer is the number we get after we plug in our value.